What's up YouTube? Vintage Dollface back with another video. We are once again ranking another generation of Pokemon. Today we are on to Generation 5. I also needed to make a note that I actually messed up a little bit in the Generation 4 video. Victini is not a part of Generation 4. It is a part of Generation 5. So we are going to start the video off with Victini. It'll be rated for a second time, but it is going to get the same rating. So we're just going to put it in the video for continuation purposes and to be correct. Thanks for coming back to watch another video where I rank the generations. I hope you will enjoy it. Don't forget, do not come for me in the comments. My opinion is my opinion and you're welcome to yours, but I want to hear yours, so comment it down below. Let me know who your favorite Gen 5 Pokemon are. Let me see that, and now I'm going to tell you who are my favorites. Okay, so Victini is first up, and it's going to get a 7, as it did last time. Snivy is going to get an 8 from me. I love Snivy. Servine is going to get a 7. Serperior is going to get a 9. I love Serperior. Tepig is going to get a 6 from me. Pignite is going to get a 5. Embor is also going to get a 5. I'm not a fan of that one. Oshawott gets an 8. Dewont is going to get a 7 from me. And Samurott is going to get a 8. Patchrat is going to get a 5. Watchog, yeah, is going to get a 6. Lillipup is going to get a 7. Herdier is going to get a 6. Stoutland is going to get a 5. Purloin is going to get an 8 from me. Liepard is going to get a 9. Pansage is going to get a 6. Simisage is going to get a 5. Pansear is going to get a 5. Simisear gets a 4. Panpour gets a 7. And Simipour gets a 7 as well. I think it's the cutest of the 3. Munna gets an 8. Musharna gets an 8. Pidove gets a 4. It's pretty basic. Tranquil gets a 4. Unpheasant is going to get a 6. I think the gender thing is pretty cool. Blitzel gets a 7. Zebstrika gets an 8. Roggenrola is going to get a 5 from me. Boldore is going to get a 6. And Gigalith is going to get a 7. Woobat is going to get a 7 as well. Swoobat is going to get an 8. Drillbur gets a 6 from me. Excadrill is going to get a 7. Audino gets a 6. Timber gets a 5. The veins are weird. Girder also gets a 5. Conkeldor gets a 7. I actually have one on my team for a while. Temple gets an 8. Palpitoad gets a 7. And Seismitoad is going to get an 8 as well. Thoreau gets a 6. Sock gets a 6 as well. Seawaddle gets a 9. Swadloon gets an 8. And Leavanny is going to get the first 10 of Gen 5. Venipede gets a 7. Whirlipede gets an 8. And Scolipede is actually my favorite poison type, gets a 10. Cottony gets a 7. Whimsicott also gets a 7. Petalil is going to get an 8. Lilligant gets an 8. Basculin gets a 4. Sandile gets a 6. Krokorok gets a 7. Crocodile gets an 8. Darmaka gets a 6. Darmanitan is going to get a 7. Maractus gets an 8. Dweeble gets a 7. Crustle gets a 5. Scraggy is going to get a 6. Scrafty gets a 5. Sigilyph gets a 7. Yamask also gets a 7. Coffagrigus is going to get a 9. Tortuga is going to get a 6. Carcosta is going to get a 7. Archon is going to get a 7 from me. And Archeops is going to get a 5. Trubbish gets a 6. Garbodor is going to get a 7. Zorua gets an 8. Zoroark gets an 8. Minccino gets a 6. Chinchino gets a 7. Gothita is going to get an 8. Gothitelle gets a 7. And sorry, Gothorita gets a 7. And then Gothitelle gets a 9. Colossus gets a 6. Duosion gets an 8. And Ranunculus is going to get a 7. Ducklet gets an 8. Swanna also gets an 8. Vanillish gets a 6. Vanillite gets a 6. And Vanillux gets a 7. I'll give it a little bit higher. Deerling gets a 9. So does Sawsbuck. I love those designs. Emolga is going to get a 7. Carablast gets a 5. Escavalier gets a 7. Fungus is going to get an 8. Amoongus gets an 8 as well. Frillish is going to get a 6. Nah, a 7. Jellicent is going to get a 7 as well. Alomomola gets a 6. Joltik gets a 9, and Galvantula gets an 8. Ferroseed gets a 7. Ferrothorn gets an 8. Really cool type combination. Clink gets a 6. Clang gets a 5. And Klinklang also gets a 5. Tynamo gets a 7. I love it, it's so cute. Electric gets a 6, and Electros gets a 5. Elgium gets a 7, and Beheum gets a 5. They made the design worse for that one. Litwick is going to get a 9. Lampant also gets a 9, and Chandelure gets that coveted 10. Axew gets a 7. Fracture gets a 7 as well, and then Haxorus is actually going to get a 6. Cupchew gets an 8. Beartic gets a 7. Cryogonal gets a 5. Shelmet gets a 4. And a Selgor gets a 7. Stunfisk is also going to get a 4. Mainfu gets a 6. Manchow gets an 8. Drudgegon gets a 6. Golett gets an 8. Poniard gets a 7. Bisharp is going to get a 7 as well. Bouffalant gets a 5. Rufflet gets a 6. Braviary gets a 7. No, let's make it an 8. Yeah. Vullaby is gonna get an 8. And Mandibuzz gets an 8. Heatmore gets a 6. Durant gets a 7. Dino is gonna get an 8 from me. Zweilous is gonna get an 8 as well. And Hydreigon is going to get a 9. Larvesta gets a 6. Volcarona gets a 7. Volcanion gets a 5. Terracoin, which probably sounds horrible, gets a 5. Virizion gets an 8. These guys, Landorus, Thundurus, and I forget the other one's name, they all collectively get a 6. Reshiram gets a 7. Zekrom gets a 6. Yeah, let's go 6. Why is that one after the other? Kyurem gets a 5. Keldeo gets an 8. Meloetta is going to get an 8 as well. Genesect gets a 4. Not a fan. And that is it for Generation 5. I have not played any of the Generation 5 games in a very long time, so it was difficult to remember some of their names, but we got through it. Obviously not one of my favorite generations, one of my least played generations actually. Black and White and Black and White 2 were the Pokemon games that I probably played the least out of all the main series games. Don't come for me, I know a lot of people really like Black and White. It just wasn't my thing. I didn't really enjoy it as much as the other ones. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate your support here on the channel with all of my ranking videos. I'm glad you guys are enjoying them. I will be continuing through all of the current generations, so we have 3 more to go. I hope you guys are looking forward to them. You can leave a like down below to let me know if you are. Subscribe if you are new here and have not hit that subscribe button already. It's literally free. Just go click the button and you can support me for free, $0. If you want to get updated anytime I upload a new video to the channel, then you can go hit that notification bell so you'll get notified when I do upload new videos here on YouTube. Thanks again for being here and watching this video. I will see you guys on the next video where we will rank Generation 6 out of 9. But until then, bye!